Hello everybody, welcome back. This is the Me, Myself, and I playthrough of Unconditional Surrender's main event. Game is published by GMT Games, designed by Salvatore Vasta. The last turn was in two parts. I'm hoping to get it all in one part here, so I'm going to be a little bit quicker with things. There was a minor disaster here in Russia. I lost the 4th German Infantry because I allowed it to get isolated. I didn't realize how strong the Russian infantry could be when it had airplane support. So I lost a German infantry to learn that lesson. We'll see if the Russians can, or the Germans can return the favor somehow here in July of 1941. As I stated before, we're going to go straight to strategic warfare. It's always clear weather in July, August, and September. You'll notice the sortie markers there are marking the fact that we had clear weather in June, so we'll add one in October. The cards have the mobilization things people have been moved from eliminated to mobilization, and the production is already set. Germany did not give anybody any points this turn. They want them all for themselves. So, without further ado, we're to strategic warfare. Now that we have the Russians in the game, we actually have both sides are there'll be two die rolls. The Russians, because of the Germans having 6 conquered countries, the Russians are at +2. And the Germans, because they have an aircraft in Norway, in Stavanger, on Sea Zone 3, are +1. The Russians do not have any partisans or anything to play, so it's up to the Germans if they want to play their submarines. They know that the Western Allies are definitely going to play their Ultra because they're trying to get back their factories, so they're going to save it to the Western Allies. So it's going to be just die rolls here. The Germans roll a 6 + 1 is a 7. Yay, I rolled as high as I can get. And the Russians rolled a 1. They rolled as low as they could get. So it's a 7 to a 3. Quick check, even though I know what it is. The Russians lose a factory and the Germans gain a factory, but the Germans can't gain a factory because their factory loss is at as low as it can get. So the Russians have 2 factory loss now. And then we go to the Western phase where the Germans are +3 and the Allies don't have any pluses, but both sides, it's sort of a foregone conclusion. The British will play their Ultra and the Germans will play their submarines because they don't want they're trying to prevent the British from gaining any factories back. And the Germans roll a 1 + 3 is a 4. Halved for the submarine, or for the Ultra, is makes it a 2. And then the British roll a 4, which is halved for the submarines, which is a 2. So that is a diamond, which is good for the British because that means their factory loss marker goes down to 6. So they'll have a little bit more production next turn. And then on the turn track, we have to roll some dice. The Germans will roll first. Their submarine's coming back in 1 turn, so it will be back in August. And then the Western Allies roll also a 1, so their Ultra will be back. So we'll probably see this happen again next turn. And that's strategic warfare. Strategic movement, I really don't see any for the Italians or the Germans, so I'm going to say no. The Western Desert, these guys are all pretty much where they belong. If I was going to go after Syria, I could possibly contemplate moving something up to the border up there by a strategic movement to save the production points, but I think I'm just going to sit still for now. And the Russians, one thing they could do here, which is I'm seriously contemplating, is to get one of their airplanes just out of the line of fire so that the Germans can't totally negate its abilities. So I'm thinking 2, 3, 4, 5. Wouldn't be able to use it this turn. No, I'm going to leave it here. It's probably a bad idea to leave it out here, but I want to make the Germans spend their sorties on my airplanes rather than on ground combats, if at all possible, so I'm going to leave it alone. Operations phase for the Axis. So, here we go. Places to start. I think we will start by doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have to start with the old airplane trick. First Luft goes after first air. So the Germans are a net of -2. They're +2 for German and -4 for sorties. Just -2. And the Russians are -4. So the best they can get is a 2. The Germans roll a 4. -2 is a 2. Best the Russians can get a 2, so that's a sortie each. And that means that the Germans will do it again, and they both get sorties. Don't even need to roll dice. They both would take at least one sortie in that combat. Now, the Germans have to play a little bit of a game here. They have to air move this guy down here so he's in range of Depnostric. That takes a sortie. So then I'm at that same thing. They're at -4, and I'm at -2 to go after the airplane in Depnostric with the air unit I just moved, which is the 2nd Luft. So, going after Depnostric, the Germans roll a 4, -2 is a 2. So we're in that same situation as we were in the north, and I'll just go ahead and do this because the math works out. So they're both at 6 sorties, and then the German 4th Luft is going to go after the Russian 2nd air. So it's the same thing, -2 to -4. The Germans roll a 5. -2 is a 3, so there's a chance here that I might get 2 for 1. And the Russians roll a 2. -4 means it's a 1. The Russians will take 2 sorties, and the Germans will only take 1. So I do have 1 aircraft I can use in a combat, or maybe I'll just try and stay ahead of the sortie game as best I can. We'll have to see how combats go here. That being taken care of, now we will have to make a decision. Which side of the map do I want to start on, the south or the north? I don't know. I'm not sure that it matters all that much, except that I might want to try and do some shenanigans here. Well, before we do shenanigans, let's do the obvious. We will bring up the national track, put it over here to the side. Activate the 11th. It is +2 for German, +2 because the man's isolated in Vilnius, and -1 for that. And the Russians are at straight 0. I don't have anything. I could put in my tanks. The Russian could put in theirs. The Russians are going to... What do we do now? I'm not sure where the critical is here, but I'm thinking it's not Vilnius. That this is just to make him waste some production points trying to kill me. So let's just take the die rolls here. Move this down a little bit so I can read the die rolls. Actually, I should just shrink this up a bit. That might make it easier so that I can see die rolls and see my card. Okay, minor adjustment to the map. I'll have to remember that for future games. So the Germans will roll with +3. 2 + 3 is a 5, and the Russians roll a 3. So we look at the combat results table. 5 to 3 is a DR. The Russians are flipped. And now they'll be at -2. They're not going to waste a tank marker on this. +3 to -2. The Germans spent 3, 6, so they have 2 left. 3 for the first attack, 3 for the second attack. So they have 2 left. And The attack 3 plus 3 is a 6, and at -2, the best the Russians can get is a 4. And if you check combat results table, the reason why I know this is I've been playing a lot. It's a DR, so they're definitely going to be eliminated, no matter what they roll. So they just go ahead and put it in the eliminated box. And then we have to do some other things here. We have to lose a will point for the Russians. So down to 79. And then I take villainous by advancing to the hex, and they lose another 2 will for that. And I still have 2 movement points left. Can't really attack anything, but I can try to possibly limit some retreats and things. So I think I'm going to go ahead and move myself up the rail line, 1-2 to 2141. Just to try and start cozying up to the river line. So at some point I'm going to have to try and break it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would cost me 6. I can only get 2 attacks. And that's probably not a good idea. Let us go with the 8th Army here. We'll activate the 8th Army, and it will go. Dear, cost me 3 to get there. Not the 8th Army. Sorry. We'll activate the 16th, and it will move to 2241, and then attack the guy in the woods there, 2342. That will cost me 1, 2, 3 more, so that cost me a grand total of 4 to initiate this attack. Again, I can throw in my tanks, he can throw in his. I'm currently at a +1, and he's at a 0. I have lots of easy retreat routes. Neither side's going to use it at this point. So it's just a +1 to whatever. Germans rolled a 5, +1 is a 6. The Russians rolled a 4. 6 to a 4 is a DR. So I have to retreat. I can retreat into Minsk, or I can retreat behind Minsk. Into the woods. Dilemma. It would allow him to attack into Minsk if I retreat into Minsk, because he still has 4 movement points left. So we'll actually go to 2343, and then he will take the hex, and of course he will spend his 3 for another +1 to 0 to start with. Now we have to think about combat commitment again. Do the Germans want to go ahead and throw their tanks in here to try and push across? Or do they want to just kind of let it be? Maybe save the tanks for something else? Since I don't have any air, it's only have that 1 tank marker to possibly use. I don't think so. I don't have any more movement points here. If I'm lucky and push him back, great. If I don't, I'll live with it. So, and the Russians are kind of thinking the same way. There's only a one point difference, so it's not worth it. The Germans roll a 3 + 1 is a 4. And the Russians rolled a 4, so nothing happens. So we're done with that. Next activation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we're going to go ahead and do a finagly move here. I'm trying to recover from that loss of that army. I'm actually going to activate the 14th and go 1, 2, 3, 4 and end my activation behind the 10th army there. And then I'm going to activate the 2nd army, and he's going to go 1, 2, and then attack with 3, so he has 3 movement points left. So he can attack the 10th twice, but he gets an extra +2 because he's got him isolated. And this seems like some place where I think I might want to use one of my tank markers here just to make him have to attack me twice. And maybe spend more movement points on another unit. So, and the Germans are not going to. There's no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They could throw in their airplane, but they're at +3. And if they can get the Russians to use up their tank markers, so much the better. So the Russians go ahead and throw a tank. The Germans do not. We'll put it down here so I can get it. Just gets up on the turn track quicker. So the Russians get a +2 on this one. So Germans at +3 get a grand total of 5, and the Russians at +2 get an 8, which is good for them. A 5 to an 8 is an attacker stopped, so that ends that whole combat. So the tanks marker worked. Oops. Why does this keep coming down so far? It'll be back in August. And the Russian 10th held in the Pripyat marshes. So now we're going to have to waste an armored unit, I think, to try and take care of this. Let's activate the 4th Panzer. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he has 4 left. And he starts off at +4, +2 for isolated, and then -1. And the defender's at 0. If I throw in a tank, odds are he's still going to be able to hit me and then kill me. Oh, that was 2. I should have to double check my numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, I'm at 22, so things are right. He's at +5. If I throw in the tank, maybe I survive a turn and make him use up his production points. The Panzer is a square further back. He's going to be able to take Minsk with an infantry unit. I'm more worried about what he's going to try and possibly do here in the clear zone coming across in the south. I think I'm going to go ahead and take the chance that I don't get eliminated in one die roll. So, go. Germans at +5. A 1 + 5 is a 6. The Russians rolled a 5. They hold their ground. Oh my goodness. So the Germans spend their 3 and try it again. +5. Russians are fine with it. Now the Germans have a 10. The Russians have a 3. 10 to a 3 is a DD. So the Russians do lose a willpower for that. Their infantry goes into the eliminated box. The armor is not going to bother to take that hex. That's kind of silly. And they can't move into Minsk because it would cost 2, and they only have 1 left. So that ends the force activation. I guess we'll just activate the 8th and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into Minsk, and then spend our last 3 so we have 0 to attack the 33rd. +1, or yeah, just to try and push them farther. Trying to get as much land as I can get here. So I'm at +1. He's at 0, and neither one of us is going to commit. Germans have a 3 + 1 is a 4, and the Russians rolled a 4, so they hold their ground. And that ends that. That was another production point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. Now comes the fun part. I'm not going to be doing well here in the north. I have to think about how I want to try and breach this river. It's not going well for me. So let's go do the obvious things in the south. Now, I've been thinking about this a little bit, and I'm going to go and make it easier for the British, because I see a chance here to possibly blow up a whole bunch of Russians. So I'm going to grab my surprise marker, and it's going to be placed in (3147). Or do I care about Odessa? Maybe we'll just try and go around Odessa. See how this works. I get a +1 on 3 units either way. It's a matter of where I want the +1 on which units. Thinking. As you can see, I'm kind of moving this around, trying to see where the 2 hexes range is. What the heck? Let's put it. Yeah, we'll put it in 3147. So everything within 2 hexes of that, I get a +1 from the surprise attack marker. And then that's going to lead me to, where's my armored unit here? It'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I think first off, I need to just 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to run the Hungarian up. Where's my production for my Hungarians? Where are you? There he is. So the Hungarian's going to activate and just run up to the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That will become clear as to why I did that in a moment. Second Panzer goes 1, 2. So that's 2 off the Germans. Down to 19. 1, 2 over the river. And then 3 into 24, 55, and then 4, 5 to attack the 20. What are you? The 26th. So I still have 5 movement points left. He has 0. I am at +4. And there's no air combat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No air can be committed. He could throw in a tanks marker here. I'm actually +5 because I get an extra +1 from the surprise attack marker. So the question is do I want to slow the armor down? I think this is the point where I need to use the second tanks marker. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. So the Russians are going to use it again. Use their other one. So that gives them a +2. So it's +5 to +2. Germans roll. A 3 plus 5 is an 8. The Russians roll. 5 plus 2 is a 7. They hold their ground. And the tanks marker comes back next turn. So tanks markers have helped me hold ground for a while, slow up the German advance. The Germans will spend another 2. They don't really have a choice here. And attack again at +5, but this time +5 to 0. He has nothing he can add. So +5 to regular die roll. It's a 7 to a 2. 7 to a 2 is a DD. So he is flipped and must retreat. Next. The Germans will advance and attack again with 2 movement points. So now they're +5 to -2. So we roll. A 2 plus 5 is a 7. And the Russians roll a 4, which I believe is just a DR. Oh, no, it's a 4 minus 2, so it's a 2. And that's a DD. So we did get the unit. So faction card comes out. Russian infantry. It's moved onto the eliminated card, and we take another will point off. And I will double check my points here. My will points. Because I started at 70, or started at 80, something like that. And I've lost 5. 1 for city and 3 units. And the Germans still have 1 movement point left. They could take the hex. But I don't see a good place to use the movement point at this point. So I'm going to say no thank you. And just stop there. And then I'm going to activate the 18th. And he will be at +3. And the Odessa garrison is just at regular die roll. That's another point there. So +3 to a regular die roll. That cost me 3, so I still have 5 left. And we roll. 5 plus 3 is an 8. And they rolled a 5, which is a DR, so they are flipped. And then I'll spend 3 more to attack it again. Now he's a -2. 5 plus 3 is an 8. And at a -2, he can't get anything other than eliminated. Faction card. So he goes into the eliminated box, so that's a 4th unit I've killed. And that's a will point. And I get to take the hex, and then I have 2 movement points left. So I'm going to move up here. I get to take control of that. I'm going to go ahead and move ahead to put the 37th in my zone of control. Try and slow down any kind of shenanigans. Not sure if that's the right thing to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. You would have retreat routes. So maybe I'll go attack Kiev. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. 4, 5. Yes, we'll do it this way. I was hoping to get some kind of a surrounded, blow them up kind of attack off here, but it doesn't look like it's going to work. They held me up enough at Odessa and in the clear terrain to the south. So Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to sneak off an attack here, but what the heck, let's try it. So we go activate the 15th. I'm going to be risky here. He goes 1, 2, 3, 4 to 30, 46. Or do I want to do something else? Could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and attack the 23rd at +1. If I get a retreat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No. We're going to go here for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 to attack. So I have 2 movement points left. He's at 0. He's at 0. I'm at +2. And we'll just let it ride. 6 + 2 is an 8. Yay me. He rolls a 4. Maybe that's a DR. Yes, it's a DR. He only has one. Well, he could retreat to here, but that would kind of be silly because you're putting yourself into isolation. So I think we'll retreat to be adjacent to Kiev and the 4th Infantry. I will go ahead, take the hex, and attack him again. Just so I'm trying to get him to be like a DD or something. And same thing, +2 to die roll. 6 + 2 is an 8. And he rolled a 1. Well, that's good for me. 8 to 1 is a DD, which is what I was looking to get. So now he's flipped, and he has to retreat to Kiev. And then that's going to let me activate the... That was another point there, I think. Quick check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's Hungarian. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I started with 28. So I should be at 17, and I am. Okay. Rather than take the hex, I'm going to leave it open so I can use the 3rd Panzer and some trailing infantry to fill in the lines here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I'm going to take a big chance here. I'm going to activate the 17th. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can do this. He goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 29, 47, and then 8 into 28, 46. That's to keep him from retreating across the river. Then I activate the 3rd Panzer, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into Kiev. So that leaves me with 5 movement points. And I'm at +4. I don't get the +1 for the surprise attack marker, which I should have gotten on this other one. That would have been a 9 and a 1. He would have been eliminated. Or no, he would have just been... He still would have just been retreated. So I think it works out the same. So I am +4 and then -1 for going into a city. And he's at his -2. So we roll. 5 + 3 is an 8, and he's -2. 6 - 2 is a 4, and 8 to a 4 is a retreat. He does have a legal retreat space, so he'll go there. The armor will take the Kiev hex, and then it will spend 2 to attack the 4th, and it will actually be at +6 because it's still only +4. Sorry, he's not isolated. He's adjacent to the 16th. He has no retreat route, but he is he's not really isolated, but he can't retreat. So I'm +4, and he can't add anything, so we'll just roll the dice. The Germans roll a 4, +4 is 8, and the Russians roll a 3, and an 8 to a 3 is a DD, so that infantry unit will also be eliminated. So I've killed 5. I seem to be on pace to kill 5 infantry a turn. Willpower for the Russians. They should be down 5, 6, 7. They started at 80. So and I'm not going to take the hex, even though it would give me it's an enemy no zone of control, but I really don't want to move anywhere. I just want to attack. Excuse me, at this point. I think I'm going to go for the to get the guy that's at -2. So I might get lucky and actually kill him. So that's 3 points, and I'm done with my moves. I have to roll +3. 4 + 3 is a 7. He's got to roll really bad. 5 - 2 is a 3. I don't think that's good enough. Nope, it's a DR. So he can retreat, and he'll go to this other nice defensible hex. And I will not bother to take that hex. That's not a good place to have an armored unit stranded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can put an infantry up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or I can go over there, which might be better for me. I'm going to go ahead and activate the Romanians. 4, 5. I'm going to go move the one that's in back here, the 3rd. He's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just so I have somebody garrisoning Odessa. And then I need to do a quick count on the Germans. I don't think I've counted my activations right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to here. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 so far. I started at 28, so I guess I'm at the right count. It just doesn't. It seems like I should be lower, but I guess I haven't moved 2 units up north. Move the 10th, and he's going to go 1 across the river on the rail line, 2, 3, 4 to here, or 3. You can go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 22, 45, or you can go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 29, 47, and have another unit across the river, threatening to run all over the place, or you can just go straight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and get to 23. Don't know. I'm not really sure. I think I'm going to go ahead and get another unit across the river at 2947, because that threatens to be able to outflank him. He's going to have to drop a bunch of... Dang it. I hate my bar coming up like that. Sorry about that. Yeah, because now I'm threatening to kind of run around and go after Kursk and all of these cities back here with my infantry. So he's going to have to try and move somebody to get in the way, slow me down, and build his units back in there. So I'm going to draw the lion's share of the reinforcements are going to come south, I think. Which should be okay, because I haven't managed to pull off a breakthrough here in the north. What did I just do? So that leaves me with is I have up to 4 points here. Which would be about right. Decisions. It should be at 19. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Who didn't I activate? I didn't count somebody somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I spent 15. I should be at 13. I didn't count the last guy that I activated, the 10th. Okay, and then we go back north, and we're going to try... we need to try and get through here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 would only be one attack. But then I have to succeed at this attack to make that work. Decisions. 2, 3, 4. That doesn't hurt me either way. I'm going to activate the 6th and go here. I'm going to attack the 3rd, so I'm at +1 right now. He's at 0. I'm going to go ahead and throw in the German tank marker. Why do I click on those things? The German tank marker will come out for that combat. So that makes them +3 for the first round at it. That was 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 movement points left. Die rolls. Germans at +3. 3 + 1 is a 4. And the Russians, well, 5. So nothing happens there. I will spend 3 more to try again, this time only at +1. I'll put my armor tank back on the turn track for next turn. So it's +1 now. Germans roll a 5 + 1 is a 6. The Russians roll a 5. They stand their ground. The 3rd Army holds. So that leaves the 1st Panzer Army to make a terrible attack, but they've got 2. So 1, 2, and then it's 1 for the river, 2 for the city, and 1 for the unit. So that's 4, 5, 6. They have 4 movement points left. They're at a net of +2 because they're +2 for German, +2 for armor, -1 for the river, -1 for the city. So +2 to a die roll. Can't add anything in. I'm a 6, and the Russians roll a 2. I think that's a retreat. Yep, 6 to 2. There's a retreat. So they have 1 legal retreat route to there. We will take this with the armored unit. So he will lose 2, and I think that's a factory as well. Yes, he loses 2 willpower and a factory. On the national tracks here. So 2 will for the city and lower his factory count by 1. So that worked. And the Germans will go ahead and just keep attacking and might as well, right? Or they could try to bust. Yeah, they just keep attacking. So it only costs 2 to attack this time. So we'll attack the 14th at +4 because I don't have any rivers or anything in the way. So I get a much better die roll here. Roll 1 + 4 is a 5. And the Russians roll a 1. So how nice of them. I got another DR. The Russians will retreat into this forest because even if the armor's going to go ahead and advance just to be closer up to Lenin. But they can't attack because 2 and I need 3 to go into the rough terrain. So the Germans are done. And then the last one will be was 2 for the Germans. And then there's 1 more for the first. Will activate. This will be the last activation of the Germans. He'll go 1 across the rail line, across the river, and then 2 into this hex, and then attack for 3, so he has 3 left. That was a total of 5. So he has 3 left to attack the 14th. He's only at +1. So not very good odds here. 5 + 1 is a 6, and the Russians roll a 4, which is a DR. 6 to 4, DR. Like I said, I'm getting used to what these are. And then the Russians will retreat. I have no idea which way to retreat. Maybe this way. The Germans will go ahead and take this, and then they have movement points left, so they'll go ahead and attack them again. This time they'll be at +2. 5 + 2 is a 7. And the Russians roll a 5. 7 to a 5 is nothing. Yeah, 7 to 5 is nothing. So they hold their ground once they get out into clear terrain. Okay, that's all the Germans. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to here. Oh, that's a Hungarian. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So I spent 19 out of starting with 28, so it should leave me with 9. Really? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, yes. So I'm off by 1. I should pay closer attention. So I should be down 1 more for that last infantry activation. And voila. And I'm going to leave it there so I can redress all 3 of my airplanes. Kind of important that I get ahead of the sortie thing here. Supply-wise, 1, 2 to Kiev and out. Kiev and out. Rail line. 1, 2 to Odessa and out. Oh, this guy here. 1, 2 to that rail line. Rail. So everybody is in supply. Up there. Well, I shouldn't be doing supply. I need to go check the Italians, see if there's anything I want to do with them. Actually, the Italians are... Since they can't have German support in this, attacking down here seems like a foolhardy errand. So we're just going to go straight to supply. I'm going to supply the Tobruk garrison here, escorting this thing. The British will decline. So I get a sortie on each, and he's in supply. I'm going to supply these 2 from this one over here in Tripoli. Oh, I went the wrong way. Because I don't need to be escorted for that one. And then I will try again here to try and supply the 10th out of Benghazi. And that's one that they will intercept. So the British are at +1. And it's clear weather everywhere. So they're at +1 because they're only +2, -1 for their sortie. And the Italians are at -3. So not a lot of luck here. The British roll a 5 + 1 is a 6. And they're a 1, so 6 to a 1 is 3 sorties on the fleet. 1, 2, 3. And then these guys take 1 sortie there, and they will go ahead and attack the convoy, who is at a -5. So best he can get is a 1, and I'm a straight die roll. So if I roll a 1 or a 2, he gets through. Otherwise, I stop him. I roll a 6. The best he can get is a 1, so that's 3 sorties on that as well. And he is not in supply, so he gets a low supply marker. And we'll just have to live with that for this turn, I guess. Got what I was hoping for. Oh, and the British took an extra sortie for that. Not what I was hoping for the for things to happen here in the Med. So that is Axis operations phase. We move on to the Western operations phase. They are going to do nothing. It's safer to do nothing at this point. Let's just wait a turn. I might be able to pull something off next turn since he's so bad on his sorties. So I'm actually not going to do anything with the Western. I'm going to go straight to my supply. 1, 2, 3, 4 that I want to keep in supply. So this guy goes up 2. And this guy goes up 2. Yay. And I'm done with the Western operations phase. Soviets. They unfortunately have to do some work here. There's a major threat of... Oh, the surprise attack marker goes back into the... surprise attack holder marking box. It'll be a while before the Germans can afford to build that with all the activations they're doing. But it did make a fairly large hole here in the south that the Russians have to kind of think about. They do have a problem here in that they've already breached the Dnieper here in the Big Bend here. So they're going to activate this guy. And he's going to go 1, 2. Boy. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But he wouldn't be able to attack me, curse. So I'm going to go ahead and do... I have to protect going north too, don't I? So I guess I have to put him there. I'm going to put this guy here. That's the right way to do this. So that's 2 points I've spent with the Soviets. This guy's going to stay right where he is because he can... That's a very holdable hex because it's -3, -2 to come at me. So I want to make him spend some time because it also costs 4 to attack that hex unless you get all the way around it, which is very hard to do and be able to attack. This, quick check, it's not a city. He has broke through up here, so this river being held is probably not going to happen. So maybe it's time to back up a space or 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. You can go there. Which prevents any shenanigans. I lose the city, but I save the units, and at this point I think I need to save the units for next turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4 more. Leave me 16. 16 and 9 is at least 7, which is how many I have to build. So one of these guys can't retreat. We'll leave the guy in the forest. Because I'll have somebody in Velaluki and Smolensk. Yes, we will go 1, 2, 3, 4. And he will go 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 2 more activations. Do I want to be there, or do I want to be here? I think I want to be there. So go that way. That's 2 more, so I have 18. Like I said, I have 3 airplanes, that's 9. And then 7 guys to build, so that's 16 that I have to stop at. So I can move 2 more guys. So I can retreat both of these if I wish. I'm thinking maybe I need to do some blockading here of the road to Smolensk. I will have somebody in Belaluki. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll put the 30th here. Oh, that just lets him have a running road. We'll just back up a space so it takes some movement points to get to me. And same thing with this. We want to make him spend at least a movement point to get to me. And that's my last 2. And then the Russians are all in supply because they're all sitting on rail lines with nobody behind them at the moment. And yeah, we're done. The Russians are done with their operations phase. No supply. Nobody has a no supply marker on them. Replacements phase for the Axis. They're just going to do their 3 airplanes. They're not going to build their infantry that they lost. So 2, 1, 2. Oh, I know. I forgot to do something with it. I had a point that I could spend for the Finns. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They go there to slow these guys down so that this guy can come out with a low supply marker for this turn, because I don't want to have to deal with raising sorties out of this guy. I don't want to have to erase sorties, and I don't see me doing anything in Finland for a while. And then the Italians have a terrible time here. I only have 12. 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got to take this one back. And then they spend 1, 2, 3 more to get this guy down. Whoosh. Okay. The British. So we go to Western now. No, this is their first 6. So that's 6. They don't have anybody to build, so they could bring down the aircraft, or they could take down a fleet. I think what I'm going to do, since I have the moment where I'm not really hurting for production points because I don't have anything to build, I'm going to go ahead and spend the 5 to bring down the Force H, because that now becomes a real threat to the Italian supply lines if I can get it based in the right place. And then the Russians, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They spend their 9 on their airplanes. Go over here and get to the airplanes. I should probably just reset that. Make life a little bit easier for us to see what we're doing. Oh, I won't be building one unit. I shouldn't have moved one of those. I'm going to flip this guy for an extra one. That means I'll only build 6 of my 7 units this turn. So that's when we do the mobilization. There are no upgrades. Mobilization, the Axis don't have any points to mobilize and don't have anything for the Italians, so they're done. The West has nothing. The Soviets do have 6 points, so they're going to spend their 6, which is going to give them 6 infantry here to put out. I'm just going to pick them all up off the card and just drop them here in the Sea of Azov till I figure out where to put them. Get that out of my way. Okay, stop that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the 12th will go in Dubnostric. The 8th will go in Kharkov. That's 2. 3rd one goes into Bryansk. 4th one into Vedeluki. 7th. Got 2 more. Oh, I need to put one in Savatspol. In the fort. And then the last infantry, I think I'm going to place in Kursk because I think the big breakthrough is going to come in the south. I just got a feeling that the terrain will help me in the north. I could be wrong. The question is whether you throw it in Kursk or if you throw it up in Smolensk, and I'm hoping I'm going to have enough retreat ability to hold Smolensk this next turn. So that's the Russians. There's no diplomacy. They haven't conquered Germany yet. So we're to the end of turn phase. We need the turn track and the faction card up because we take stuff off. The Germans will get their tanks markers back. I'm going to move this turn track up. Tank markers. Germans get their tank markers into the events box. Stop that. The Russians get back their tanks. Boom. And boom. And then, of course, we get our strategic warfare stuff back, which makes the British very happy, and hopefully they'll get a thing back. And the Germans now have their surface action markers, so they can play around in the Atlantic if they want. And that's the end of the turn, kids. Don't know how long this has gone. I will make a quick check. But pretty much that is the turn of July 1941. Went a little quicker because I didn't have to explain weather rules and things like that. We'll do that again when we do August. So next turn, we will start like we did here at the strategic warfare phase. And I'll reset all my counters offline. And so This is Dren608. You've been watching the Me, Myself, and I playthrough of Unconditional Surrender's main event. Thanks for watching. Please leave comments, and feel free to subscribe. Bye-bye.